Haase. My name is Nick Haase, eh, one of the co-founders here of MaintainX. If you haven't had a chance to meet me yet, glad to be spending a little bit of time with you today. I work closely with a lot of our customers and internal teams across the sales and marketing side of the business, and work closely with our product team to make sure that I can help share insights and things that are helpful directly from the field, and make sure we're building exactly what's useful and what's needed. I also work and lead our community. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, there will be a link at the end. Definitely check that out. Got some great conversations that happen there, and um, I'm always happy to pop in and answer questions there as well. You may have seen me if you've been to any conferences. I like to spend a lot of time out in the field with folks there. I've had an opportunity to speak at many conferences. In fact, the presentation that I'm giving today is one that I've given to uh, over 1,000 um, industrial operational leaders and executives over the past couple of months at a few different events. So I'm excited to share a slightly updated and different version of that presentation. And um, then I also work on developing digital transformation strategies with folks. So without further ado, we're going to. Everybody hear me? Okay, everything working? I see comment that it's not something, can't hear anything. We we good? Thumbs up with the reactions, or if you can hear me. Otherwise, all right, cool, awesome. So there's a lot of talk out there around AI and maintenance and asset management. What does it mean? How can it help today? And this is something that I'm personally very excited about and passionate about. I think we have a lot of uh, opportunity to really innovate at the edge here. But I want to talk a little bit today about some of the pitfalls and how you can kind of get there from go from reactive, the state of reactive. People are starting to move towards preventive, but uh, still trying to figure out exactly how do we go from like this old school way of doing things straight into the future. What's that path look like? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So that's what I'm excited to kind of share with you. It all really starts with this idea that skilled labor is getting harder to find. This is not going to be a breaking news to most of y'all, but 76% of manufacturers are struggling to fill critical labor gaps today. Um, there are 2.1 million jobs that are going to be unfilled. Turnover rates are are rising rapidly. Someone's moving my face around, but try not to let that distract you. It's not me. And the there's I read a statistic the other day that for every there are two people that or there's somebody one person in manufacturing in the United States is retiring every like 37 seconds. And for every 2 to 3 people that retire, less than one unskilled worker is coming in to replace them. So skilled labor is really something that I think is an alarming challenge and issue that is something we're working to get ahead of. Why it's a threat to your uptime? Well, if your institutional knowledge is leaving when those folks retire, these younger folks that are coming in that aren't skilled, or these unskilled workers don't know what to do. That increases your downtime. Critical tasks are being skipped or badly performed. If you don't know how to give them the insights and actionability of what to do the right amount of time, uh, it's your machines and your equipment are going to be down longer. So diagnosis and repair is going to take longer. Teams are stuck in this reactive cycle because as you're going from fire to fire, it's hard to take a deep breath, exhale, and actually, uh, solve root causes. And so it puts people into this sort of cycle that continues to go, spiral and make it challenging to get out of. Most are struggling to even adopt, you know, we're calling used to be sort of the idea, this ideal mature strategy, but it's kind of that basic stepping stone of how do we go from bad to good or okay even. And so 58% of folks, according to a report we put out earlier this year, and saying that most of their work is still reactive, even if they have preventive strategies and other things in place. They're still unable to kind of wrap their heads around it, which is creating increased downtime, higher maintenance costs, and asset life reduce asset lifespans. So you're having to replace that equipment more often. So here's what's happening today, and this is going to be the story that most of you are familiar with. Maybe you have some machine that's telling you it's breaking down. You got a more sophisticated machine. Maybe an operator's noticing it, but nothing happens. Then your asset breaks, it goes offline. So your reactive firefighting takes place where you diagnose the issue without any historical context. You don't know who worked on it last. You're not sure when something was replaced last. You're scheduling work without work-driven insights, or without, excuse me, without data-driven insights. And so you don't know, how's this going to affect production? How's this going to, you know, do we even have the parts that we need on hand um, to do this? If not, we've got to pay rush order shipping fees. The amount of money that I see folks spending on rush order shipping is mind blowing. So if you're in that camp, you're definitely not alone. And the business is suffering. You're losing revenue, wasting labor. You've got folks sitting around on shifts that aren't able to do anything, and you don't know when it's going to be fixed, so you can't even send them home. And you've got these cascading delays. And so, why is it so hard to change? How do we break out of this cycle? Um, you know, we see that folks are struggling to find relevant information that they need to troubleshoot the equipment, to retain and transfer institutional knowledge, and leverage their existing technical resources. There's a lot of organizations I work with that they have IT and OT and um, and production and reliability, and they're all siloed, and none of them talk. And reliability team doesn't even know that OT may have access to all this data or production's using that it could benefit them. Or if they do know, they don't know how to connect it, how to make use of it. And so this is where we see an opportunity for AI to enable more effective teams. So here's what happens with an AI strategy. Your machine has machine will trigger an alert, clear action steps are then taken, and downtime can be aligned with your schedule. This is sort of the promise of it. Now we'll talk about how we get there, but just to kind of put it clearly, we believe that AI powered prescriptive strategy starts by helping diagnose the issue using AI to help understand what are the circumstances that are leading up to this signal, help schedule work based on skills and availability. So when do we need to actually, when can this asset go down versus, relative to the issue, and make sure that we can help you get ahead of, you know, uh, having critical spares on the shelf that you need with intelligent part forecasting and making sure that you can understand lead times, your critical min maxes, and get ahead of and forecast the usage of those parts so that you're not spending a lot of money on rush order shipping and um, having downtime that exists just because you don't have the right parts on the shelf to fix it. And this is going to help your business win: less downtime, lower parts cost, efficient labor. We're at a period of time right now where it's ever been more challenging for a lot of these operations to work with, between the labor shortages, um, between the supply chain that, unpredictability that exists through the geopolitical circumstances, and then tax, trade, tariff issues and challenges that continue to develop, create a lot of uncertainty. And so it's more important than ever to sort of focus your operation and your organization on you know managing what you can control as efficiently as possible. So this impact on workplace availability is, if we can start to retain and centralize knowledge, this is going to accelerate training and build a knowledge base in a library internally, so that your business can be resilient. If your top technician wins the lottery and leaves today or retires because they've earned it, all that knowledge doesn't need to walk out the door with them. Part of their legacy can be leaving that institutional knowledge behind for the next generation. Smarter planning and execution can happen if we can actually plan when the work should be done and execute it when it makes sense. um, we can keep people on the tools and compliant without creating risk, giving faster access to information in the field. So even just giving them the information, somebody who does actually maybe know what to do, or at least knows where to look, giving them access to that information more effectively keeps them makes the best use of their productive time. And then providing intelligent recommendations that can help you start to get towards that more mature strategy and end state that you're looking for. There's a problem here. Most manufacturers and operations don't know how to start and execute AI projects and strategies. Most of these projects right now are stalling at proof of concept. They aren't actually, maybe they're getting a POC off the ground with a line, with a single site, with a small team, but they can't figure out how to scale it. This is a skill set that just doesn't, frankly, exist within 99.9% of organizations today. It's all relatively new. So it stands to reason that there's a lot of learning gaps to catch up on, and it can be very expensive and time intensive to even get to a stage where you can build that in house if even possible. And part of the reason they're failing is beyond the expertise, internal expertise. It's you have low or poor quality, unstandardized, unstructured data's in silos and disparate systems. Um, Being able to educate and handle change management with your team and say, hey, here's a new tool. It's never fun to have to train people over and over again, and then watch them become discouraged if the tool doesn't last. Um, the time to implement it, time to value. I don't know any teams that I've worked with that have groups of people sitting around waiting to take on projects and twiddling their thumbs underwise. And then finding the budget and resources to support these projects, all while you're trying to make your production targets and run your business efficiently. So this is where we see an opportunity for generative AI to really be helpful. It's designed specifically, if it's designed specifically for work execution, it's built on a high quality data foundation. It's easy and fast to adopt, embedded in your technicians' workflows, and trained on your equipment, your operations. It's going to unlock the value of AI in a format that doesn't feel particularly foreign or new or different, um, which is going to encourage that adoption, get that leadership to buy into the value of it, and help move the needle um, on those workflows we talked about. So maybe kind of an overview of what this disconnected ecosystem looks like. It goes beyond just IT and OT. You've got all of this knowledge that's sort of locked up in technicians and operators' heads. You've got knowledge that's locked up in the management's head. And how do we help bring all of those disparate sources together? How do we connect them and let them benefit from each other's knowledge and build towards a central unified goal? Well, that's where we see this, MaintainX Copilots is for bridge that gap to help you become more connected and intelligent. And I'll kind of walk through this workflow outside of the theory and practice here in just a moment. So the way we see this working is it's sort of this circuitous circular loop, right? If your work execution, it's where somebody goes and turns a wrench, does something, and that's now going to help that's going to help drive and generate error and fault prevention, which drives diagnosis and troubleshooting. Drives your planning and scheduling, which then drives your work execution. So it becomes this loop where you can get better and better with every time that the wrench is turned, every piece of standard and structured data that you capture. So it becomes this reinforcement wheel where you're not just becoming better at a linear scale. You're actually going to become exponentially better as these gains compound. And the benefit of this too is that you don't have to necessarily have in-house teams that can manage all of this at scale. This is where everything we design and think about is how can we help operations and organizations of all sizes. And so we'll talk about this for a first step of error and fault prevention. This is detecting what needs attention before it breaks down. And this is something that's designed, you can build out through the workflow automations that can help just simply connect to machine data or allow for user input on machine outputs that maybe aren't connected yet. And based on those anomalies, we can trigger inspections and get routed to the correct operator or person that needs to go in and do some secondary diagnostics. Step two, now that we've identified what some of those issues are based on these smart instructions, then that operator can start reviewing those steps, ask for clarification from an AI assistant, and perform any uh, follow-up inspections and create flags for issues that may need specialized expertise beyond that. So that's sort of that embedded assistance component. Next, we have this workforce and asset planning. So this is how you can now go and make sure that you're planning and performing this work when it needs to be performed. When you have that, when you have the right skill set available, when you have the those folks working on shift, if it's first shift, second shift, third shift, and be able to link back to any incidents that led up to that point as well for context. Also understanding that we can use AI now to help estimate how long these tasks are going to take so that you can slot people in and manage their time efficiently. The next step of that planning phase is understanding your parts availability, making sure that your parts clerk can make sure that you've got parts available or can order them and request them from other locations and anticipate the demand of how many parts you're going to need over time based on both PMs as well as potential critical asset downtime events that could require certain assets and parts to be available. And then lastly, being able to empower your technicians with AI directly. So being able to access past history and asset details. You can ask who worked on this last, what machine data has, what are some of the signals that led up to this event? Being able to ask questions to asset manuals. And, even if maybe, I'm sure all of you have seen, if you haven't, go walk on the floor and look at how large those asset manuals can be. They can be binders 400, 500, 600 pages long. We've seen thousands of page manuals. Even if you have access to those at your fingertips, searching for them is really cumbersome and painful. And generative AI does a phenomenal job of being able to help distill exactly what you need, what information can be beneficial to the end user in the moment, uh, while providing a sort of trust but verify mechanism where you can look and see directly from the source where that information comes from. Being able to use AI today, some of the other opportunities is being able to take photos and be able to um, ask to submit a photo and say what's wrong with this. This is something an operator could do, and that can help a technician diagnose what's wrong before they even step foot on the floor to fix it. Whether they recognize the issue or AI can help suggest what the issue could be based on what the image looks like. And so one of my other favorite parts of AI is that I'm not a proficient texter and typer on my phone. I'm a bad millennial myself, but a lot of folks are dependent on voice notes and being able to immediately go in and update work orders and share any knowledge with voice is, I think, one of the other really exciting opportunities with AI, where it can filter out background noise. It can understand all dialects and languages and help preserve that knowledge of what went into that work order after it's completed, so that it can help provide contextual information to the next person that fixes it, either at that facility or somewhere else. Let's see here, and then so sort of in summary here, I want to share sort of the three key steps to help set your organization up for tomorrow's AI. And the first one is it starts with that solid data foundation from both human and machine data sources. So if you have the opportunity to connect machine data, um, that's a great place to start. But if you don't, you still have an enormous amount of human tribal knowledge that if you can structure it and standardize it correctly and format it in such a way that it can become this repository that you can draw on for knowledge in the future, that's going to help unlock your downstream opportunities with AI. Um, the second step is using easy to use options for frontline teams. They're you don't want them to have to go back and forth between a bunch of different apps or having to learn new products. If you can integrate it directly where they're doing the rest of their work, you're gonna get better adoption, which is gonna get you better access to that tribal information. And the third step here is not waiting for the perfect tool. There's a lot of folks that have sort of decision paralysis on understanding. Maybe we should wait and see what comes out on the market. There's new innovations that are happening every day, and this is an opportunity, I think, for folks to understand move forward with something that can interoperate with other tools, and you'll be in a position to take advantage of that downstream. I do see a couple questions coming in, and don't worry, I am gonna leave some time here to talk about Q&A and jump into that. So don't just bear with me for one moment here. The three call outs here I just wanted to share is, if you haven't had a chance to see the MaintainX Academy, um, our community, or you want to talk to somebody directly in depth with us, we'll give you links and opportunities to do that on the call, or right here today. And then we got a survey that you can win. You can get $50 for completing. If you want to sort of give us we're trying to understand the current state of how you're thinking about AI. And so if you want to scan that QR code, I'd love to get your thoughts. We're also got a link there in the chat, so feel free to click that as well. With that said, I'd love to jump in and kind of talk to some of the questions that you all may have. And it can be directly related to this presentation, or anything else on your mind related to AI. And I'll try to get to some of that. So first question I see here is wondering if the reasoning is based behind the procedures list to help record institutional knowledge. Do we keep updating new procedures? Yes and no. We aren't going to be automatically updating procedures that you've already got in place. I think that would upset a lot of folks. We will provide recommendations and opportunities for you to, part of what we're trying to do is give you an update if we know that a procedure that you're using is a standard procedure. If there's an update that's been made to it, and you want to be able to see that update, um, we're constantly improving. We're building processes to help learn from previous work that's been performed on equipment. For example, if I know I have customers of all sizes, from Fortune 50s to small mom and pops, they have those machines that just need a little percussive maintenance. There's no explanation or rhyme or rhythm to it, but you smack it in the right spot, it keeps running for another 2 months without issue. Steps like that would be proposed, could be suggested in Copilot after that has been recorded as part of the work history. So we're not going to automatically update your procedures, but we will be able to provide suggestions and recommendations for you on that front. Next question. Do I realistically see most of the technicians actually willing to chat with an AI as opposed to talking to another experienced technician? It's always a big the question we had when we started MaintainX, actually, and whether we were trying to talk to investors or even if industry professionals that have been working with us, was, will technicians ever use a mobile device? They're I've got guys that are in their 50s and their 60s, and they're Luddites. They can't use software. They're not going to use a mobile device. Um, we've proven that just wasn't, they just didn't like the software that was offered to them in the past. If it was easy to use and intuitive, they were able to pick it up. I think AI is a similar kind of journey. If the AI if there's an AI chatbot that is producing junk results and not helpful, I don't think people will use it. I think they're gonna ignore it. If it's providing information that helps them avoid, helps save them time and gives them the opportunity to get the information that they need efficiently, and they trust it, I think they're going to use it nonstop, um, every chance they get. And that's part of our obligation and our duty at MaintainX, is to make sure that we fit into that second bucket of making something that's really helpful and practical and useful. If we if we don't build that, if we don't get that part of it right, then people won't use it. So that's, if it provides value, it'll definitely be effective. And what we're seeing so far from our early results, we recently launched Copilot out of beta uh, earlier this year, and um, the early results are really exciting. One of our customers, one of our clients that we work with, was really, he's got a guy who's in his late 60s, and he said the guy, he's grumpy about everything, and he's absolutely in love with Copilot. Um, and so I wasn't sure how different generations would approach it. I always suspect the the younger generations will be a little bit faster to adopt technology, but um, folks adopt tools that help them. So as long as we hit that threshold, we'll be okay. Um, Third question is, when will MaintainX Copilot be able to handle larger file sizes? Is that on our roadmap? Uh, I saw that question. We can we've changed that. We've modified that several times already. So I'm not sure when you last attempted to try that. Um, we've expanded that window pretty significantly over the past several weeks. We'll continue to do so. Definitely send us a note with exactly what you're trying to upload, and we'll make sure that it's formatted correctly, and then also make sure that we can adjust our product to uh, give that make that work going forward as well. So yeah, we've seen some pretty large manuals, and we've been successful in getting those to load now. How do we get to predictability maturity? Yeah. Um, I mean, getting to predictability is definitely the holy grail, I think, to a lot of folks within reliability. Um, I think there are a lot of folks that falsely advertise the ability to get there sooner than is possible. Um, and that frustrates me just because it's going to create this false sense of um, I think it's going to build up some resentment towards the technology in maybe an unfair way, but that's I think the responsibility of folks selling these solutions to be not to not oversell the functionality that's available. Predictability, as far as I define it, is different than um, my idea of predictability is basically zero unplanned downtime, in short. And there's a you can do condition based monitoring with vibration analysis and all these things, and you absolutely should be, you know, I think those technologies have a ton of value to almost every operation today. Um, but that's just because you can identify an anomaly with machine data doesn't mean you've gotten to predictive maintenance. It's condition-based monitoring is the term. Super valuable. You should be doing it. But there's some next, there's more variables than that to take into consideration from so thinking about a production line in a manufacturing environment. It'd be really instructive to know what raw materials are being run through the line, who are the operators on shifts, what's happening at each step of that production line, with even going back through the supply chain and understanding um, you know what the raw material, the quality assurance and quality control of the raw materials that are being input into those machines, and um, thousands of variables across the operation that are going to be needed before we're able to get to a true predictive state. Uh, I think we'll get to a very close to predictive state sooner than that, as a result of like capturing this the human side of the knowledge, which is generally unstructured today, and not tapped into, and that's going to help complement condition-based monitoring really well to get us to a state that I think most people will be pretty excited about, and get a ton of value. So that path to predictability and how we get to that maturity level is, I think you go from reactive to preventive, preventive to use condition-based monitoring, and then condition-based monitoring to prescriptive, and prescriptive to predictive. And prescriptive is this sort of middle world between condition-based monitoring and predictive that I was sort of walking through today, where we help give people information they need as efficiently as possible. Because maybe we can't prevent that downtime event altogether, but if we can take a line that produces $100,000 worth of widgets an hour that would have been offline for 3 hours down to 30 minutes, uh, that's a pretty big win. And those are the sort of margins right now that everybody's just, those are the sort of inefficiencies that everyone's baking into their margins today. And so when we're trying to make ends meet and people are trying to meet production targets, and trying to figure out how do we navigate through all these economic challenges that exist, those are the margins that can make or break the difference between your operation being wildly successful today or put you under. So I don't want to minimize the opportunity that's in front of folks without being fully predictive today. Um, your question here, like, what is one thing I wish Copilot was better at, or a feature I wish it had? Um, it's a good question. It's a long list. I think like one thing I wish it had. So today, right, today's Copilot with MaintainX is really focused on the end user operator. The features that we're working on that I'm excited for, but it doesn't have it yet, so I still wish it had, is what we're going to be able to do um, with sort of the manager experience. So we've talked about the technician and the operator, but how does the manager benefit from Copilot? Uh, a good manager is going to probably have a good pulse of their operation, but they aren't going to see everything. They can't. So there's not enough time in the day. So Copilot of tomorrow is going. The manager is going to show up to work, or even on their way to work. They're going to be told by MaintainX, here are the top three things you should focus on today. And one or two of those things, maybe probably are things you're already loosely aware of. You may not know the root cause of them, or you may not have um, a full recognition of what needs to be done about them, but they're not foreign problems. Third one may be a surprise. Um, and the Copilot of tomorrow is going to help the manager actually go through and do know exactly what to do about those things, and even facilitate and support helping with those things. So that's definitely one thing I think Copilot can be really effective with in the future. And we're pretty close to getting sort of the first version of that ready for folks. So stay tuned. That's gonna be pretty cool. Um, let's see, what other questions do we have on the docket? Give folks a couple more moments here to let's see. Can I integrate a Dodge vibration system within MaintainX? Uh, pro- Possibly. Yeah, we have an open API. So if their vibration system, we can get that data out. We can absolutely connect to it. Um, Definitely reach out to your team or your contact here at MaintainX, and they can help kind of walk through that. Um, John says, high level, how other than physically doing the work, how far will AI be able to go within MaintainX? Oh, excuse me. I think it's gonna go a lot further. I mean, from if you think about the sort of root cause of where, or like, if you think about what brings people joy when they go to work and what doesn't. I think AI is going to very much go after the stuff that doesn't bring people joy, and it's got a lot of room to carve out. There's still a lot of opportunity to carve out on that. So what does that mean? Well, if I need to order a part, why does that take dozens of emails internally and then dozens of emails externally sometimes? Like, I think there's an opportunity for AI to facilitate that a lot more elegantly and take that off their plate. You can still keep humans in the loop. Right? We don't want to, you know, the robots aren't going to be running these operations autonomously, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for the busy work that goes in between, streamlining communication between departments, sharing data and insights and learnings, being able to learn from production, and production being able to learn from reliability. I think AI is the big opportunity for AI is to help break down a lot of those silos and help organizations work more cohesively as a team. Um, and and that efficiency gain is going to there's nobody that's going to be sad to not have to print out 13 extra Excel spreadsheets and spend hours every day cross-referencing different charts from different systems. That's not the part of their job that's not what gets them excited. I think they're going to be able to refocus and reorient their time and energy on the things that like solving problems and doing real engineering work. And that's where I think the low hanging fruit that's going to get excited. So and it's not going to be taking jobs. There just frankly isn't enough skilled labor to exist to do these things anyways. So it's going to help the people who do. want to be there, be more effective, and do more of the things that they enjoy right out of the gate. Can a Copilot help us track and improve compliance with safety and regulatory procedures? Absolutely. So, give you an example. One of our clients is doing right now. One of our clients is real. Like, safety is a big deal. This is for most of our clients, but the specific one, safety is a really important corporate initiative. It's a non-negotiable. The OEM documentation for a lot of their equipment doesn't require lockout tagouts or doesn't suggest it at the beginning, even if you're working on things that their organization believes should be lockout tagout per policy. If they were to interact explicitly with the OEM manuals, and they were to, which they do today, grab the manual off the shelf or look at the digital PDF, perform that inspection, or that maintenance work that needs to be done, uh, unless they like remember to lock it out and tag it out, or unless they have you know, uh, then they don't. And so, what we're able to do with our Copilot is enforce corporate policy across Copilot instructions, so that now that for that same task that that person's going to be able to ask the OEM manual, and how do I fix this? And then the corporate instructions are going to be overlaid on top of that to make sure that, hey, before you start fixing this, because it has these set of conditions that are going to require you to interact with the with part of the electrical components of this, we're going to require a lockout tagout as the first few steps. We could even enforce permit to work, so that you're going to have to get a sign off from a manager before you can begin this work. So Copilot's going to be able to help enforce standardization, not only across the data capturing, but also the recommendations that are given. So that's sort of one of the opportunities there, Dexter. Good question. Um, let's see. Do you have any other questions here? I think we've got time for a couple more. And thank you all for hanging out and sharing these great questions. These are great. Let's see here. I've got uh no one's voting on them, so I'm just gonna answer what's next here. Uh how can I find out how many work orders I've done, how many inspections are done in MaintainX? That's in our reporting module. So be able to access that. If you're not, definitely you should be able to see that in our it's just a quick reporting. Do we have a module for setting up parts? We do. Yes. You may have that feature flag turned off. Um, can work orders be created using voice with feedback questions? Uh, we're working on parts of the creation. Yes and no. Not entirely from start to finish, but parts of it can be created with voice. It's something we're working on right now. There's some workflows there that we want to make sure we get right, so that it doesn't um, script the quality of your input data from your frontline team. Right now, the way that most of our clients have set up requests, they it's a lot easier to sort of enforce standardization there, right out of the gate, but it's something that's coming for sure. Um, let's see, anything else here? Someone asked how they can use all of this function in their MaintainX account. Reach out to your MaintainX account manager. They'd be happy to help set that up, and I'll let you try it out. Look in the Q&A here as well. Get there. Is there a plan to incorporate explainability so management can understand decision making? Yeah, great question, Francisco. So the question, yeah, is there a plan to incorporate explainability so management can understand better the decision making behind the suggestions? So that's part of what I was talking about with the reporting Copilot. Um, I know a lot of operational leaders who have been promoted over the years because they're great at executing and managing a team, and now they're being asked how do we they're being asked to lead divisions or departments at a level, or maybe there's folks that are aspirationally trying to get there, but they don't have the language that corporate likes to hear, and they kind of butt heads because they're not able to effectively communicate what they need. I think that's the promise of Copilot for managers as well, is that we can give you uh, not only the language that's useful, but also the data to support that language. so that you can go and make a data-driven case to your leadership team that'll show how these decisions and these recommendations and suggestions that you're making, whether you're requesting budgets for X or Y, um, it can be done because at the end of the day, maintenance is a cost center, right? And that's how it's viewed by corporate leadership. I think there's an opportunity for uh, Copilot to help arm managers and leaders with the language to help present maintenance and reliability as a growth opportunity, as something that if you invest in it, it will return, um, dollars off of pennies, right? And so that's the sort of opportunity I think that Copilot does is it can help make managers better, it can help make technicians better. And that's part of the streamlining communication to make sure that everybody's speaking the same language. So that's the I think part of the opportunity we have here with AI as well. Let's see. Any other questions? Otherwise, I think. Oh yeah, okay, very good. Can Copilot be used to standardize part names? Yes, and no. Today, Copilot's not used for that specifically. It's part of what we're working on as well. Jessica, so she asked if Copilot can be used to standardize part names um, based on descriptions, knowing it's a breaker. So there's a couple of different ways we're thinking about that, and AI is definitely a component of that. Whether it's directly a part of Copilot or not is I think something we're still working on internally, but we've got some ways that we're helping customers do that today with AI tools as part of our implementation process. So if that's something you'd like help with, Jessica, we can definitely help structure that for you. But we want to make it there's definitely some things that are in development. So stay tuned on how we're going to try to make that a little bit more effective and standardized because yeah, we've definitely heard that, and I know that's a challenge for folks with a lot of SKUs. Perfect. With that said, thank you all so much for joining today. Um, we'll see you at the next masterclass. So a quick question: if you filled out the survey, the gift card's not immediate; it'll come later. Don't worry, it's not a trick. And so we will. The recording will be out later today. Thank you all so much. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or anybody on the MaintainX team. And appreciate your time today. Thank you all so much. Thank you to the folks that on the MaintainX team that have been helping answer questions. Jen and Hudson, appreciate you all, and Cass. Thank you all so much.